up, guys? So I know it's been a minute since I've uploaded my last video. Reason being for that is going to be I had cut my hand open. I was playing with my cut hand. I had to get 5 stitches, got that fixed, but then I got sick. That prevented me from playing for about a couple of weeks. And then I started getting shin splints. So last couple of months haven't been, I haven't been super fortunate last couple of months. That's okay. We're doing a lot better now and back to playing some pickleball. Anyway, so I want to get into this video. The Holbrook Fuze is actually a paddle that has not been released yet. I was very fortunate to get exclusive early access to this paddle and got to try it out, which I'm very thankful and happy about. And so kind of get to give you guys the thoughts ahead of time on this paddle and whether or not it would be a good buy when it comes out. Anyway, before we get into this video, I just want to shout out again LockerRoom Sports. Those are my guys over there. They just have helped me out so much with this channel and stuff, getting it started. They helped me with getting access to paddles so that I can make these reviews. They didn't give me access to this paddle. I got it through another way, but I'm still extremely grateful and thankful for LockerRoom Sports. Just go check them out. Link in description. If you're in St. George, Utah, or just anywhere in southern Utah, tell them Nick sent you in. Anyway, so let's get into the meat and potatoes. This paddle was different. I definitely haven't tried out a paddle like this before. It's a Gen 4 full foam core paddle and it's very good. I enjoyed it. And I will tell you right now that this is one of the most powerful paddles I have tried out. And man, I would argue that this potentially beats the boomstick in power. I probably won't go as far as to say that it is more powerful than the boomstick, but I will say it's probably just as powerful. The main thing I noticed with this paddle right off the bat is its pop was incredible. I feel like with a lot of paddles, you either get good power or good pop. They tend to not go hand in hand. Normally it's kind of one or the other. The pop and power on this paddle were both exceptional. The ways that I really noticed it differentiated from other paddles that I've tried. Other than that, it seemed pretty standard as far as just being a really powerful full foam core. So off the bat, second I picked it up, noticed it had the foam core feel. It was a tad bit heavier than the Gen 3s. It was a bit heavier like the boomstick, and I did have 2 tiny weights on the sides, 2 0.1 ounce weights. It had a very good sweet spot with those with that weight setup, and I really enjoyed it. The power of this paddle was very exceptional, and I felt almost in a way that it was kind of uncontrollable, even almost as much as the boomstick. And I believe part of that to be the fact that I haven't played very much recently, since I've been sick and shin splints, all this stuff. So I believe that kind of to be partially the cause of why a lot of my shots were going out and stuff. But this thing had shocking power. I mean, you'd hit the ball, you really had to make sure you had topspin on the ball or there was a good chance it was going out. So as far as power, I'm gonna go ahead and rate this a 9.5 out of 10. I know I rated the boomstick a 10, but I do think the boomstick probably had a tad bit more power to it. This seemed to have a bit more dwell time though. So I do think shaping the ball was a tad bit easier with this. Though it was a foam core, I did notice it to be a bit squishy and flexible, bendable on the sides. And normally what that indicates is that you're going to be getting better dwell time, because when the ball hits the paddle, the face kind of caves in, like a trampoline and then propels the ball back out to wherever you're hitting it, back over the net. And I think that's kind of something that this paddle really excelled at. Let's get into control. I'm gonna be real. The control was solid. However, there were times I popped the ball up. I would say it was pretty well balanced though. Overall, I would say it was easier to control than the boomstick, and it seemed like you could get solid spin. You could still shape the ball up at the net, and I noticed my two-hand backhands on my dinks were pretty good. And that's good because I haven't been able to two-hand backhand. I don't know if you've noticed my last videos and stuff, but when I was playing, I could only do one-hand backhand. But now this is healed up a bit, I can do my two-hand backhand, and it was pretty exceptional with this paddle. I think for how powerful it was, I think it was a very, very solid control paddle. I think I would rate this an 8.5. For the amount of power that it has, its potential on the control side is very good. Let's get into the spin. The spin of this paddle was good. It had the ability to shape the shots. It was just good spin. For spin, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. It really was just good. I think if there's one word to describe this paddle, it's just good. It's a good paddle. There's really not much else to say about it. So let's get into pop. And here I feel like pop is where we're kind of getting into the, I guess, like its X factor. With this paddle, its power was very powerful, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It's nothing more special than like the boomstick or anything. Its control was solid. It was just good control. Its spin was solid. It was just solid spin. But I will say the one area it seemed like it just really excelled was on pop. The pop you got out of this paddle was incredible. You'd hit the ball back at someone and it would just rock it right back to them. And I feel like that's something you'll get in some paddles, like especially 14 millimeters, you'll get some pop, but it seems like to have power on a paddle like this, the pop should not be as powerful as it is. And I think it's a good thing. I just don't know how technologically and engineering wise they do that, because like I said, normally the 14 millimeters have a little less dwell time, less power, but they have more pop. This had, like I said, great power, but it had incredible pop. Any of those quick shots at the volleys would be sent right back to the opposing side and seemed to be very hard to deal with. So that is something I really enjoyed about this paddle, was the pop. I wanted to note also that I think I've hit some of the hardest overheads I've ever hit with this paddle. Drop shots on this were solid. My drives were a little inconsistent, but it was a very powerful paddle. But I just wanted to note that the one thing about this paddle that I'd say was different in correlation to other paddles is its pop was just very, very powerful and explosive. If you are someone who enjoys pop during volleys and stuff, this might be your paddle. Volleys with this were probably its strongest suit. Once you got to the line and someone popped it up, you could swing the ball down pretty hard. For pop, I'd probably give it a 9.5 out of 10. And where would I rate this paddle among other paddles? I mean, the RPM Friction Pro is still single-handedly, I think, the greatest pickleball paddle on the market, at least from what I've tried. I completely enjoyed that paddle, and I'd like to get one. After that, I'm probably going to go with the Yola Gen 3, and then I will probably go with the Selkirk Boomstick. and then this paddle. Not because this paddle is really worse than any of those, but I feel like it doesn't fit my play style as much. I don't care too much for pop, and I feel that it had so much power that though it wasn't hard to shape the ball, it was still hard to keep the ball in just because of how much power was coming off of it. I would say that this was a pretty durable paddle, and you could feel it in the technology. It just had very, very, very good density to it, and it just felt high quality. It felt, you know, like it was made with, you know, attention, care. From what I felt and what I noted, it seemed that this paddle did not have a flaw in it durability wise. The edge guard seemed very strongly intact. There was nothing wrong with the grit, or there was no signs of wear or tear on the paddle face, and it had been played with previously for quite some time before I had used it. It is a tad bit heavier. I did have like I said, a weighting setup on it, but it was a bit heavier of a paddle as well. Not as heavy as the boomstick, but heavier than the Gen 3. So just something to note for you guys. Anyway, guys, so thank you for watching the video. Overall, my thoughts on this paddle is it's a good paddle. I think it's just good at everything. And I think it's just Holbrook's new take on the Gen 4. It's a very, like I said, solid paddle. It doesn't really seem to have any flaws other than the fact that it might just be a little too powerful for a lot of people, especially like new players. But if you're an advanced player, I think there's going to be no issue taming this paddle. And I think if you are someone who loves pop, I think this might be the selling point for you that makes it a super good paddle. I don't know how much it will come out for. If it comes out for $250, I'd say for a average player, probably don't get it. If it's $200, I might consider it. If it's any less, then I think it might be a great buy, but I highly doubt it'll be less than that. But main thing is pop, pop, pop. If you love pop, you're gonna love this paddle. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna try to be cranking out more videos. Hopefully nothing else happens health-wise to my legs or any sickness or anything, but I really appreciate you guys watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.